So I hope you took all your art materials out, and me too. As you can see, I have my watercolors, I have color pencils, oil pastels, and even a bit of ink. But you do not need all this. You just do with whatever you have. As long as you have a sheet of paper and some colors, that will just be fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to make some shapes, and we're not going to think of making birds. We're just thinking of shapes. They can be round or oval, and while it's the paint will still going to be wet, we will make little shapes in it or marks. You'll see, but don't think of birds yet. So I'm going to start here. I'm just going to take some blue, and I will work very liquid since these are watercolors. But even if you use acrylics, just work very liquid so you can mix the colors. And you see I have some blue here, and then I put some green into it. Now I'm making little dots, and you see since the paint is still wet, they look a bit like little stars. And now I'm going to think of another shape. Or let me just here add a little bit, make it a bit larger. Okay, now the next shape. I think I'm going to make a shape that's a bit rounder, but I'm not going to apply the paint directly. I'm going to first wet the paper, and then I add the color. You see, all these gives you different effects. I'm going to go with this really light green. Then a little bit darker. A little bit darker. Can even be a little bit spotty or have like different values, and maybe a bit of purple on the side. Just kind of experiment and see what happens. Yeah, a bit of red and then some yellow. So now before the paint dries, I'm going to add some salt. And you're going to see once it's dry what effect it gives. So I have a big oval shape, I have a round one. What else could I do? Just also trying to fill a bit of space. There's nice little different gaps between each one, like the negative space. So here I'm going for a bit something darker, a blue and a green. And let me add a few yellow dots. Well, I don't see it that well. So let me see what happens if I use a color pencil into the wet paint. I'm going to just make little shapes in it. It's a bit like making feathers without really being feathers. You can put any type of shapes in. You can make circles, you can really draw feathers. And now I'm going to pull the paint a little bit outside and just add some feathers. So you see, partially is the yellow pencil, and partially is the paint that has been pulled out. Yeah, let me check how it It goes with a light color inside the dark, if that works. It's all a bit about trying out to see what works and what doesn't. Now I'm going to add a bit of oil pastels. That works really well because they're kind of thick and oily. Making little patterns in it. Just having fun here. I don't think birds or anything. I mean the feathers a little bit, but besides that, not really. This time I'm going to start with the pencil first and some oil pastels, and then I'm going to add the the watercolor in top afterwards. So I'm going to start this time with mark making first. I'm going to use color pencil and oil pastels, and then I'll go with the watercolor in top and see if it's what effect it has then. Well, I didn't use much contrast, so it's a bit like yellow-green and another yellow-green. So it's a light green, I want to say, and kind of a yellow-green. So it's not very, cannot see it so well. They already look like a lot of fun. These lovely colors, they look happy. And again, I'm just having fun to adding different colors to it, just mixing it into the wet paint. Maybe a bit of red, that way the green will come out more, the oil pastel. You can even go back, even if the paint is dried, you can just go back and add another layer. That is fine, because you can work like wet into wet, but you can also work wet onto dry paint. That's fine as well. So this looks really good. I'm actually happy with it. So now we need to let this dry, and you should do the same, because when you continue, we cannot have wet paint. So just take a little break, and then we can continue. So now my paint is dry and I can start working on it. So we're going to turn these shapes into birds. But before we do that, I would like to show you something, how easy that is actually, just to take any shape and turn it into a bird. So let me just make a few examples. One shape, another one, and the third one. So these are no birds, huh? We agree. But you see, the moment I put a beak in on the bird, and maybe little feathers or wings and feet, it automatically turns into a bird. It really doesn't matter the shape. This is just going to turn out like a big, large bird. And you're going to see even the third one. Look, he's quite cute actually, round like that. And the third, we kind of have to think, where should we put the eyes? And let me think, it could be anywhere really. But let me put them on this right side. And then I'm just going to add the tiny one. I could also make a big one. Some feathers. You see, we already have 3 birds. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing on our aquarelle shapes. So let's give it a try. So the first one, let me think. So before we start, let me just take that salt off. So I'm just going to rub with the fingers, and that way it comes off. And you see this lovely texture. Now I'm just going to put it over the bin to get rid of the salt. And now we can start with the birds. Yeah, I like it. It looks good. So let me look at my bird here, the first one. I think maybe on this right side I could make the beak and just make it like that. Or actually I could even make it orange. Yeah, that looks good. I can see it better. Okay, and now just a bit more color. Let me just add the eye. So he's looking at us. Yeah, it's always nice when the moment they have the eyes, they become alive. Maybe some feet here. You can make them colorful, or with color pencil, or with pencil, normal pencil. Also, I can just add now some more patterns, because the one with the watercolors are very light. So this works really good with these oil pastels or watercolor, and just go, or even like markers. Just take, yeah, as we mentioned, whatever you have. Can add some feathers in different colors. Can really just play with it and have fun. Also here a bit, just kind of underline what's there already and add some feathers. Yeah, you can constantly adjust them and see. So just a bit more there as well. So I'm thinking about this one. I'm not quite sure where I want to continue, if in the middle of the face, or you know what, I might just, I'm not sure if I should just wait and maybe move on to another one. So here I have something very long. So it could be, I could make the beak there, or yeah, let me just add it there. So it's kind of looking down at the other bird. It's kind of nice when they're communicating. And I can also make some feet out of color. He's going to get some green ones, some legs and feet. That is the nice thing about that. You can really just have fun and, I mean, use whatever color you like with whatever patterns and feathers all over the place. Yeah, also I'm quite happy with these color pencils. They're very pigmented. It's nice. Yeah, it's looking good. It's looking good. Here also, I'm just going to try to stay like in the same color, just to lighten it up. It's like a dark blue, and I use a lighter blue. and just kind of go into the green a little bit. And now we have this one. It's a funny shape. So already, let me think where I should put the eye here. Or the beak. Yeah, let me... On the left side, on the right. Okay, let me just go for it. Maybe start with some feathers there, and also in that way he's not looking in the same direction as the other ones. Also here I'm gonna take the same color a bit, staying to the bottom part into orange and red, and just add this. And again, the eyes, I mean, you obviously don't need a marker like this. You can do it with a color pencil or whatever. So it's just a little one left afterwards. You can add as many details as you wish. I mean, you could go on forever with that, obviously. So you see these two are looking at him. So we have one looking to these two looking at him, the other one looking away. So maybe this one could look forward. So I'm going to put the beak right facing us. Yeah, that green doesn't show much. Green on green, yeah, that's not a good choice. Yeah, better. Some small wings here. You can also adjust a bit the shape if you want to, just by adding the feathers. Just changes the whole shape of the bird a bit, and then also inside of the body. It's just so relaxing to do this. You can just invent, and nothing is really wrong. It's going to be so much fun to see the birds you did. Just adding whatever feels right and having fun. So I'm just thinking what else is missing. And I think usually I like, when the eyes are black, I like to put a little dot of white in it. It just gives it a bit of life, because that's what we have too in the eyes. There's like the light reflection, and it just makes it more lively. Yeah, that's how it looks good like that. And now we could think what we want the birds to sit on. Should it be a branch or just the floor? Or should it be walking on leaves or grass? So I'm going to go for a branch. So as you know, branches are never a straight line, hardly ever. They're kind of a little bit bumpy and irregular. So I'm just drawing it first. That, so they can be standing on the branch. Like that. And I think I'm gonna probably just add a bit of shade to it, a bit on the outside. You can use a pencil or a color pencil. I mean, you could add some leaves if you want to. I'm just going to go for the simple branch here. Give a bit of priority to the birds. And afterwards I'll probably add some watercolor to it. Yeah, I think I'm going to go for the watercolor. Taking a bit of brown. So I'm going to try just to add it and not have it so regular, because you always have a bit of light and shade on the branches. This is a bit too dark. Need to add more water. Adding all that, a bit darker, a bit lighter, always a bit on the bumpy side. A bit darker and a bit lighter. So you see, you could really, I mean, there's so much we could add. We could add leaves and so I kind of feel like I need to do, yeah, we could do clouds or branches or anything, but I think I'm just gonna add a bit of driplets of color on it, like splashing it a bit. So I'm going to make the watercolor very liquid and use like a medium-sized paintbrush, and I'm just going to hit it right on my hand so it sprinkles on my paper. The next one is going to be a light green, so a few more splashes in green. And I do the same thing again. It kind of integrates the background with the birds, and it becomes a bit more lively, animated. I mean, I kind of could leave it like that, but let me just try something if it would look good if I add some darker colors to it or some ink, just to kind of give it some depth. So I'm just going to give it a try and see what happens. Sometimes it's a bit tricky when I add ink to something, if it can be a bit too hard, but let me just give it a try. I mean, the good thing is you can always just paint in top with water, with oil pastels, for example. But because this is a bit of a big blob there, I might paint in top later. But let me just continue. That is the good thing about just trying out and see if we like something new. You could also add some depth by adding just darker colors of the colors you already have, meaning like a dark blue, a dark green or red. That's also nice, just to add some depth. So let me look what else is missing. Right now I just kind of think it would be nice add a bit of color, and also the background. I still feel like there's something missing, some little patterns, like circles could be fun, or just something very simple. I think I might just do it with the watercolor. I'm going to stay in the same green and orange that I used for those sprinkles and splashes. I mean, I could have done leaves, but I just feel like making these little shapes. Yeah, I guess this time I'm done. I think there's nothing to add anymore. It's going to be a lot of fun to see what you did. I really hope you enjoyed this project, that you posted in the Facebook group so I can have a look. And hopefully I see you another time in a different class, or we cross each other on the social medias. Thank you so much for participating, and keep on painting. Thank you.